George's on Vista is the local bistro at Fraser Rise in Caroline Springs, situated at the George Cross Soccer Club at City Vista Reserve. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, we've adjusted our menu and our business times. You can now get takeaway Friday and Saturday nights between 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. You can phone your order through on 7021 0555 Friday and Saturday nights between those times, or you can pre-order your meals by emailing info@georgiesonvista.com.au. But orders must be received by 5 p.m. on the day required. Check out our full menu and weekly specials on our website, georgiesonvista.com.au. Get behind local business and order your next takeaway dinner from George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, in the heart of Caroline Springs.
Good evening and welcome one and all to this very, very special Monday night edition of the Football Out West show. It's going to be an absolute fantastic one, and it's a specially themed George Cross Football Club show tonight. We welcome all George Cross members tuning in, and we also welcome all non-George Cross members. We urge you, do hang around and get an insight into what is happening at this fantastic club in the western suburbs. And also there is a big major announcement to be made later tonight by the very popular George Cross president Mark Sultana himself, and here he is welcoming him to the program. He's not the president of the George Cross Football Club, but a man who is equally high in stature, equally as as significant across the western suburbs himself, Craig Filer. Craig, how are you, my friend? And you've got a major announcement to make today as well.
Have I? Thanks for the introduction of Tonci. I actually thought I'd started another new job then, as the way you were talking, something I didn't know about. But look, great to be back on tonight. And as always, when we have our special guests and our main sponsors, George Cross, it's always a fantastic show. So really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now, apparently you have adopted a new role. You've become a headbanger. Is that true? And we're not talking about the heavy metal enthusiastic supporter, but a different sort of a headbanger. Do tell.
Yeah, I had a bit of a nasty injury on the weekend. I headbutted a fence.
What's up there?
Caused myself a bit of an injury and got a big black eye that I wasn't aware I even had until my wife came home earlier on and showed me. It's you can probably just see it under there. But it's I'm made of stronger stuff, mate. I'm from Wales. We're men and sheep are scared.
Oh, goodness me. I wonder why the sheep are scared. Okay, Craig, great to have you on board. It is a very special night because it is a special George Cross themed show tonight. We've got a lot of guests. Who have we got coming on board tonight's show?
Yes, we have under 11s Girls coach KESI RAO, who's going to join us. We have MICK
SVALJEK or SVALJEK.
Yeah, who's the under-16s NPL coach, who I know very well from his time down in Geelong. And, of course, we have Adam, who is the technical director of the Miniroos 7 to 11. So really looking forward to having Adam Wakefield on and having a good chat with him as well. And he also does a little bit of stuff for Western United. So we might be able to get a couple of little insights on Western United throughout the season as well.
Well, that'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Really looking forward to tonight's show. Be a part of tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. Drop us a line by putting something in the comments section as well. We'll try and get through as many comments as possible. Big shout out to Vladimir Zetovic, one of our members. I was meant to call you Vladimir today. I just completely forgot about it. I had a very, very busy day today. But nonetheless, I will get in touch definitely. So,
and if anybody's got any questions for the guest tonight, by all means you can pop them down on the chat on the right hand side, or perhaps if we get a bit of time, we may even get some lines open and you can call in and ask your questions to your relative guests that are coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Craig. Well, we're going to get straight into the news desk, so I'll let you step away for a split second as we get the news desk all ready. And on the other side of the short break, it's going to be news desk with Craig.
Everybody, it's Monday the 7th of September, and we're going to give you some news from around the world of football. So there's not, unfortunately, there's not a lot of football going on apart from a little bit in Europe, and we'll speak a little bit to start off with about the Nations Cup, and we'll just go over some of the results from the weekend's fixtures, or in particular overnight. With the results, starting off with Andorra being defeated at home for 1-0 to Faroe Islands, which I think now is their second win out of 2. Ireland losing at home to Finland 1-0. Hungary losing at home to Russia. Kosovo losing at home to Greece. Serbia and Turkey drawing 0-0. That'll be a volatile game down there in the Serbian capital. God's country winning 1-0 against Bulgaria.
You'd be very happy about that.
I am 2 out of 2, mate, with a very, very young squad. And
what's the scorer there?
Nico Williams was the scorer for Wales, the young Liverpool right back, who's got a bit of a run in towards the end of the season there for Liverpool. So 2 wins out of 2 for Wales. Slovenia 1, Moldova 0, Malta 1, Latvia 1. So a draw for the Maltese contingent, and there'll be plenty of them on here this evening with George Cross coming on. Switzerland drawing 1-1 with Germany, which is a good result for Switzerland, and Spain defeating Ukraine 4-0.
Unlike the previous night, a lot of close games there, apart from that Spain-Ukraine clash. But all the other games are very, very close. So interesting, some interesting contests, tight contests there. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's still early days in that, but I think we're two games into the group. Tomorrow evening, or this later on, or early hours of tomorrow morning for us, it's Czech Republic versus Scotland. Bosnia and Herzegovina against Poland, Netherlands and Italy, which is probably the tie of the round. Armenia versus, that's Wednesday. Northern Ireland, Norway, Austria, Romania, and Albania, Lithuania. And then into Wednesday, we've got a list of games. Probably the highlight on that Wednesday one is the France-Croatia game, which should be a cracker if Croatia can get back into winning ways after losing on the weekend to Portugal.
Tough one. That will be a tough one indeed. A lot of clubs struggling at the moment to get into some sort of match fitness. But speaking of Croatia and Portugal in that game that was played the other night, geez, Portugal looked really, really good, and that was done without Cristiano Ronaldo. Fantastic effort there by the Portuguese. What else we got, Craig? What other news?
I just want to touch on Sam Kerr in the UK. She's having a bit of a tough time with the media there in the UK, saying that she's not all she's cracked up to be, and apparently had a bit of a disastrous game last weekend against Manchester City, but has come back this week and scored the winner against Manchester United. So hopefully that silenced a few people back in the UK. So you can see their fantastic movement. Kerr scores critic-defying goal against Manchester United. We know what she's like in that box. We know she can score goals, but it is a different level to, of course, what she's been playing here in Australia for many years. Another headline, I suppose, is Arsenal. We have the head coach Joe Montenegro, who's the head coach, and also 3 of the young Matildas in that squad defeated Reading 6-1 yesterday. 3 of obviously the Matildas were in that squad, so certainly looking good for the Matildas over there playing in Europe at the moment. There's a number of played, as we said. There's a couple who have played in the European Cup competitions over the last week or so. So it can only be good for women's football, and we'll touch a little bit on that with our guest KESI RAO from George Cross tonight.
Yeah, it's good to see the girls are really, really leading by example. It's sad to see so little Socceroos playing in some of the high leagues in Europe.
Well, we've only got one now. There's only one Socceroo playing in the EPL. One
isn't
player.
that disappointing? Isn't that absolutely disappointing? We've actually got more coaches in Europe, in European leagues, than players playing, in higher leagues. So it's quite sad to see where it's gone. But at least the Matildas are flying the flag, and they're playing obviously in France, in England, some of the other leagues as well. So that's great to see as well. But it's a disappointing state of affairs at the moment with the Socceroos. But will be interesting, mate. Will be interesting to see what happens with next year with the A-League, no doubt having a cut price competition. The money is not going to be there. Will that mean that we'll have an exodus of a lot of players going to Europe or to other leagues? But is the quality there? That's the other question.
Well, that's the whole argument about Australian football, isn't it? And we've been discussing that with many of our guests over the last couple of months. Is are they good enough to play in Europe? And sadly, for those that do go, one or two get it, but the rest tend to come back after a short period because they're not used to the level and the professionalism and the desire, want, all that stuff that's required to play at the highest level in Europe. So we'll wait and see on that one. I think certainly the A-League will be a very different place in 2021 in terms of the players that that the A-League club will have at their disposal. So it'll be very much watch this space.
Yeah, and speaking of the A-League, our good friends Simon Hill, Željko Kalac and Craig Moore, who have started their new podcast, Shim, Spider, and so much more. Well, they've released their latest one only about an hour or so ago, and they are tackling the A-League's problems. Spider's going to be talking about his new Greece gig, where he will be the assistant coach to fellow Sydneyites Tony Popovic and former Perth Glory coach. And also the guest on that show will be Ryan McGowan. So if you want to actually know about some of the things that are affecting our game, that's a great podcast to go on to. You can watch that on Spotify. I think it's Google Podcasts and a few other podcast platforms as well. So quite happy to push that podcast. And all three have appeared on our show. So I think, Craig, maybe the fact that they appeared on our show gave them a little bit of a inspiration, I'd like to think, to do their own thing. So good on the guys.
There's a lot that we like to think was our doing, Tonci, and Simon, Craig, and Spider have been fantastic for the show. Spider, be great to get him on maybe in a few weeks' time and just have a chat about how he's settling into Greece and how that looks for him. But it's a great little podcast if you haven't had a chance to listen to it. Simon Moore, you owe us another favour. Simon Moore, Simon Hill. Simon Hill. You owe us another favour for plugging your podcast, mate. So I'll be on to you in the next couple of weeks. He's a good lad, and like I said, he's willing to come on our show at any time. So it's a very good podcast. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, please do. And the only other thing I've got, Tom, is to talk about the Hotbeds Football IQ quiz, which is coming down to the final game of round one, following last night's match between Altona Magic and Yarraville Glory, in which Yarraville Glory came through that game 5-4 with a deciding question. They both finished equal after 10 questions, and Steve brought out the golden goal.
We haven't had that until last night, so it's taken 7 games for the golden goal to come into effect. And, geez, wasn't that a cliffhanger last night, Altona Magic and Yarraville Glory, Craig?
Yeah, it was. It went right down. It was nip and tuck all the way. Altona Magic took a bit of an early lead, but obviously the halftime break came in at the right time for Yarraville Glory. Got his energy drinks down and whatever else he had, and he came back to win it on that golden goal in the final minutes of the game. So Yarraville Glory go through to the quarterfinals, and this week we have the final game on Thursday evening, which will be Karayo Soccer Club, with our good friend Joey Giacomazzo coming on, and he'll be taking on Sunbury United's captain, Joel Gretsch. So we're looking forward to that one. I'm sure the banter will start very, very early on that one on Thursday evening.
Yeah, absolutely. And whoever gets prevails on Thursday will join Yarraville, Gorspitch Bears, Barwon Soccer Club, Brimbank Stallions, St Albans Saints, North Geelong Warriors, and Sebastopol Vikings in the quarterfinals. And as you can see, the graphic there on the screen. A point must be made that is not in order. So Sebastopol won't be taking on North Geelong, St Albans taking on Brimbank, etc. We will be doing a live draw after Thursday night's big clash between Corio and Sunbury. So that will be drawing on air live on Thursday night's edition of the Football Out West show. So make sure to tune in to that. Should be an absolute cracker. Really, really looking forward to that one. So, yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And just Santa Mamone has just popped up on our comment section, and I'll have to be very careful how I say this. For fuck's sakes.
What was that again, Craig?
I'm not saying it again. It's a very good podcast if you're a Melbourne Victory supporter. So we'll give them a little bit of a plug, but I'm not saying it again. So
hold your tongue and say that 3 times and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a break right now. We're going to take a short break. When we do return on the other side of the break, it's all about the George Cross Football Club, and we'll be talking first up to their president, Mark Sultana. Don't go away. You're listening to the football and tuning in to the Football Out West show.
George's on Vista is the local bistro at Fraser Rise in Caroline Springs, situated at the George Cross Soccer Club at City Vista Reserve. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, we've adjusted our menu and our business times. You can now get takeaway Friday and Saturday nights between 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. You can phone your order through on 7021 0555 Friday and Saturday nights between those times, or you can pre-order your meals by emailing info@georgiesonvista.com.au. But orders must be received by 5 p.m. on the day required. Check out our full menu and weekly specials on our website, georgiesonvista.com.au. Get behind local business and order your next takeaway dinner from George's on Vista, 46 City Vista Court, Fraser Rise, in the heart of Caroline Springs.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. Thank you for joining us. It's a special edition tonight. We've got some interesting guests lined up for you tonight, and none more so than the actual president of the George Cross Football Club, Mark Sultana. And Mark joins us right now. Mark, welcome to the show, and great to have you on board.
Thank you. How are you?
Good evening, Mark.
Very good, thank you, my friend. And yourself? How was Father's Day in the Sultana household? Were you spoilt rotten, were you?
Yeah, kids came home, and it was a good day, just quiet. I was going to sit down and watch the announcement, but then the kids said, turn the shit off, and we did. So, it was a great day. And, again, happy Father's Day to everybody out there in the football world. So, all good. And yourselves?
Well, you know what? I said to my kids, with this lockdown and the fact that the kids are home every day and I'm home every day, it's Father's Day every day. So I'm going to try and look on the positive side of things. What else can you do? And
we can see what Morgan did to Craig.
Absolutely. That was because I had an apple. I had a card made for me by my daughter who's 18 next week, and because they'd forgotten to get me a card, she made me went out to some paper in my office. So that's how much the kids think of me.
Mark, I reckon you're onto something. Craig earlier in the show said that he walked into a fence. Now, isn't that? I think it was more. Took the ball out and did an overhead scissor kick.
That's it.
He couldn't punch his way out of a paper bag, mate. He'd have to bring 3 next with him.
No.
Anyway, let's move along to George Cross Football Club. It is a tough time. Let's be honest. Let's be serious. And it's been compounded by what's been happening over the last 24 hours, mate. How are you, and how is the committee? How is the club doing? The members? Are you? Tell us what's going on behind the scenes.
Look, we're all still majorly positive. I mean, again, I feel for everybody, really. At the end of the day, we've missed out on so many memories, and I think not just from the football side of things, but the fact that like I said earlier to you guys, it's the ability to be able to say hello to somebody would be it would be a great thing, rather than waiting for either a Zoom meeting and things like that. So sometimes you forget what you missed out on. But look, we were happy enough to keep in.
Sorry, mate. We take it for granted, don't we, that we're always at football grounds, we're always busy doing stuff, but it's that interaction we get through the football community that is important. And like you said, just walking up to somebody at the ground and saying hi or whatever that might look like, you don't realise what you've got until it's taken away from you.
Oh, look, and it's been taken away from us. We were, and again, it's been said enough. Really, we were very, very focused on developing a really strong program right throughout the football club, from juniors to seniors to the female side, and so many people were engaged with the football club. And it was, come March, it was all over, and we've attempted to keep everybody there by again having. Lucky enough to have our bar staff and the chefs and that on JobKeeper, and the fact that we can do takeaway and people are supporting that, and that just is keeping the club alive by just it's a note to everyone that we're still there, we're still trying. If you want to pop in and get a meal, things like that. So
like I said to you earlier on, Mark, my beliefs are that, and I've said it from day one, and that I feel, what you guys are doing at George Cross by, having this show every sort of 4 weeks, and, the sponsorship that you guys do for us. My belief is there's a lot of football clubs won't get through this period, and we'll see a lot less clubs starting back up when we can. And it's a sad indictment of, I suppose, of where we are, and hence the reason why it's really important that clubs stay focused. They interact with their members as much as we can, because again, we talked about not being involved and not having our interaction with players. You can see how quickly it all goes within the space of a couple of months of where we all were perhaps in February, March time to where we are now in September. Very, very different. So what you guys are doing, and a number of other clubs around the state, they're doing a great job of interacting. But for those that are not, I feel for them.
Look, again, you got to look at it, and we've got again full-time people right through from George to Lisa, and we're fortunate enough with the changes in JobKeeper, we're able to bring some of the casuals that didn't qualify initially for JobKeeper. So it's been really big. It's a strong boost to the George Cross people and the teamwork that's gone into allowing those casuals to come back and share shifts. And look, they're doing anything that they can. At least they can come into the club and feel like that they're still part of that real strong family that we've built. And I think that's really important. I mean, you got to take your hat off to George and to Lisa. I mean, Lisa's just mate. Look, everybody knows. I don't have to say much more. And George the same. And it's testament to the three guests that you have on tonight, on how really engaged we'd love to stay with all our people at George Cross, the fans. I mean, even those that don't like us, at least would appreciate the fact that we're giving them some news in football, and albeit through our club, but it broadens itself out to all the information that we hear from and so forth. So
absolutely,
yeah. Well, and it's our only way. Sorry, it's our only real way of being able to engage with our current people in this pandemic. So I think, again, thank you to you guys. I mean, I know I say it often, but really thank you for the fact that you're also making our club strong, and we hopefully reciprocate that in getting people to follow your program. So
yeah, absolutely, and for that we are very, very thankful and very grateful. And it is sad. Like I concur with what Craig says. I think there are going to be a lot of clubs that aren't going to make it. And I think the surprising thing is how many clubs are, in fact, have basically gone into hibernation. And that is sad, apart from the fact that we're probably losing, tens and hundreds of kids who are losing that enthusiasm, and it's very easy for that to happen. I know my daughter was one, for example, early in the year after the initial lockdown. It was like, oh, I don't really want to go back to playing, and so many other kids were exactly in the same boat. Now we're going one step further and talking about entire clubs are going to go because they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's very important that we do try and do what we can to keep the club, the community, as you say, alive and thriving.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Totally.
Now, keeping news and keeping members aware of what's going on around the club. Do you want to touch on what you spoke to me about earlier on? Maybe some good news. We could touch on in a moment. But do we want to start off with some sad news, I suppose?
Oh, look, just again, generally, I mean, a very, very strong, important part of George Cross and what we have today is, the ability to, again, say thank you to those that have helped us get where we need to be. And everybody knows that Ed's, obviously been a very strong part of this football club. And, look, he's not the best at the moment. Hopefully, things may change. We never know. But, again, I just wanted to let all the members know that, we're all out there for him and we're reaching out to him. And, hopefully, we get to see Ed when we get back. And to be quite honest, it's, he plays a very, very big part of this football club. And, what he was able to do with the group of people at George Cross that delivered this wonderful facility, people like that, the one in generation people, and then these are, and that's testament to what the football club is today, because so many people put their heart and soul in for the last 30 odd years trying to being promised grounds and then not being delivered, and the fact that Ed was able to execute that with so many people that were involved in the football club. And I just want to send our best wishes to Ed and his family. We miss him heaps, and all our love and prayers are with you, Ed. We miss you.
Yeah, he's a top bloke, and
absolutely.
Best of luck, Ed.
Yep. Now, on a positive note, shall we talk about something that you'd like to talk about? Some very positive news, Mark, that'll probably have positive ramifications, not just for members of the George Cross Football Club. And we talk about leaving legacies and things like that. What we're going to talk about now is certainly down that path, but it's also something that's going to have very positive ramifications for football in the western suburbs of Melbourne. Over to you.
Yeah, well, look, fortunately enough, George Cross being who we are and a very strong brand in football Victoria, and if not pretty much football Australia. So we were asked and we were invited to a Zoom meeting with the AAFC in discussing what's our interest in formulating a B League. And Darren and I sat in on that Zoom meeting, and that was with a number of clubs, albeit I think there was about 50 odd clubs that were from around Australia, and we all agreed to again move forward with this. And then fortunately enough, we were invited by the AAFC to join I suppose the standing committee to develop and how we can prosper that idea of having a B League, and we've taken up that invitation. So I think it's a great lot of news for the football club. I think it gives us the ability to sit on a panel and really understand how it can be formulated so that we can have a fully funded and a full transparent way of playing football at a very high division, albeit it's all about promotion and relegation, and I think the values are pretty sound across everybody that was on that Zoom meeting. So I think that's a great announcement for the football club. I've spoken to Zach from Preston, and they announced theirs as well on Instagram that they've also taken that up, and also would be great to see two strong football clubs fighting out for a B League, and then you never know how big we can get this club to be, and if we can formulate a process so that right throughout the whole parts of football, and that's your women's side and your junior side, and it probably gives us something to really esteem for as a football club. So, albeit we're in a pandemic, but we're still out there thinking that we are. I'll probably be a little bit arrogant here, but I think that we are, probably a good sort of footprint for what we can do as a football club, and employing full-time football people in our club, and understanding that we could probably have 6,000 to 8,000 people at any game that's played in B League. So I think we bring a lot to the table. I think the fact that the resurgence of the football brand from George Cross proves that we're very much interested and very strong in understanding that we have a full-time general manager and a full-time TD to be able to build our football club to where it needs to be. And I think it would be silly of me, or amiss of me, really not to speak to my fellow board members and get their agreement in formulating a process to fight as hard as we can to be part of that B League. So I think it's great news for the football club, and I think it's great for anybody that wishes to join George Cross, knowing that that's how high we wish to esteem to be able to get that football club. So I think it's great news.
It's great to see. Preston, I know that it's been announced just in recent weeks, I think, that they're getting a major multi-million-dollar
correct
of Connor Reserve, well overdue, mind you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and is it ironic or coincidental that, Preston have got into the NPL in the last, 2 years? You guys, George Cross, yeah, exactly. Yeah. George Cross, would have been in it, I'm sure, if there had been a 2020 season. So the idea, the focus of having a national B division, is that driving a lot of clubs who have held back in recent years, who are now very ambitious, probably have got the contacts, have got the community, have got the finances to say, listen, finally, after years of hibernation, we're putting our hand up to get back involved in something like this because we can see that there's a purpose. Would you?
Yeah, I do, wholeheartedly. I think, look, you know what? It's all about formulating a league that is sustainable. And I think it's very important to understand what the clubs actually own as a brand. And I think if you can formulate the real cultural brand of football is probably the best way to describe it when you think about the old NSL days. And look, some would harp on them immensely. I'm not very, very close with that sort of history, albeit I do know the George Cross side of it, and I'm sure I'd stand corrected if Victor was on. But when you think about what the club itself can bring to football, and if we are able to unite ourselves in a national brand, there's a whole heap of stuff that's involved, right through the fact that, we do have a World Cup coming through, and it is the female side of football that's going to be showcasing that. And to be quite honest, it's a real breath of fresh air to understand that we're talking about women's football as strong as we are. And I think if the B League is going to be somewhat of a brand, there needs to be a real clear understanding on how we can actually formulate that right throughout our senior men's teams and also our senior women's team. And then really off the end of that, maybe coming up with an under-18 competition that might be able to give us some type of direction, similar to what the AFL did with the TAC Cup. But we think that there's a real broad of acceptance on how we can really develop a new lot of life into football. And I think the FFA have really sanctioned that process with Nick, with the Galatas team and all that. And I think they're doing a great job in really trying to ask as many clubs as possible to participate in this process.
Yeah, and just on that, Mark, so the 25 teams that have been, or 50 teams were involved in the Zoom call originally. Yeah, and that's
correct.
So now 25 have been invited. And what will that look like? What will that look like in the end? Will it be a squad of a league of 12, 14, 16 teams? What does that look like from what you understand?
Oh, I think look, I'm sure they'll announce a few things as we go on, but I think initially the talk is about 14 to 16 teams. It's not going to be just capped at 25 in terms of it's those that wish to uptake the roles and responsibilities as being a participant with the AAFC. So I think hopefully that there's a strict criteria in terms of what the applicants really need to have as part of their football club, so that, again, we can make this really sustainable. I mean, we really only have one shot at it to do it properly, and I think there's I think the fact that I think COVID has reset everything entirely, our lives within everything that we've participated, gives us ability to sort of sit back and really think how we can do this right for football, and how we can actually, really amalgamate so many starving supporters of football within Victoria. So
I think the important bit there is what you said about, putting a plan in place. The fact that, it's not going to happen next season, is probably not going to happen the season after, but it gives everybody, and the fact that the AAFC are giving clubs the opportunity to come up with a plan. So it's what does the plan look like from a club's point of view, not from a head honcho Australian Football Federation of Australia. It's what how do they see this league going forward, and the fact that the clubs are going to be involved in that is a massive plus as far as I can see.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, will really be interesting. And maybe what's the timeline? When are the clubs meeting? When's the next sort of achievement along the timeline going to happen? Is there a sort of a date by which the group is going to formulate a business plan or a blueprint?
Oh, I think, look, you need at least 12 months, Tonci. I mean, what I will say, I think the important part about this is that we as presidents or chairmen of football clubs and general managers and secretaries and all those that encompass our clubs, I think what COVID-19 has given us the ability to do is, in actual fact, to sit back and say, right, as clubs, what can we give back to football? And we as much as I want George Cross to be at the forefront of everyone's thought process in regards to football in Victoria, but at some stage, I think we've got to really group together and give each other a big hug and say, right, how do we get this off the ground, and how can we do it so we can formulate the process so that at least we can engage with so many different people that have been really starving for a real strong promotion, relegation, ultimate in, say, maybe 5, 6 to 7 years. I don't know. Like, the A-League will embrace it because it obviously have to be sanctioned by the FFA, which is great. So that gives it its ownership value. I'm sure they'll come on board and say, right, look at the whole bunch of new participants that we're missing out on from a national side. Marconi, have a look at, there's so many clubs. Look, I just really believe that our club, and it's not about any other club at this point of time, I think our club has the brand. It has certainly the structure. I think it has the facility that would really be, again, second to none from a point of view. I mean, we're a State 1 club, and albeit we were, busting to get into NPL, but we're with George Cross. I don't think whether we're in NPL or State 1 really matters too much to me, myself personally. I think with George Cross, and I think we've got a lot to offer as a football club, and I think that's why our fans are so united and so strong at the point in time. But I just thought it would be some great news for them to understand that we believe it really strongly in our brand, and I think we need to try and do the best we can to get it to where we need to get it. So I think hopefully that gives them a breath of fresh air over the next 2 weeks, and they can think about how they can help us and how we can help the AAFC in making sure that this gets off the ground.
Absolutely. On that note, we wish you all the very best with that, Mark. It's a pleasure chatting to you. We were going to talk for 10 minutes, but we've ended up talking for about 20. But so much to talk about, so much to cover. We do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully maybe in 3 or 4 weeks' time when we have our next George Cross themed show, we'll have a lot more positive news. Well, not saying that wasn't positive news. I think that was very positive, but just generally speaking, I think we all want some positive news to come out.
No, that's and just off Mark has obviously mentioned that sponsors and everybody is really important to every football club. So just on behalf of Mark and the club, just like to say thank you to Malaga, CPT Electrical, Westwaters, Be Floored, Elite Sealants, Delray National Food Group, Caruana Plumbing, Inline Joinery, Inline Drainage, NVC Carpentry, and Kappa. So big thank you to all of those supporting companies that help George Cross and do what they do very, very well. So big thank you on behalf of the club.
No, thank you, Craig. And again, to all our members and fans out there, thank you so much for being patient. Look, stay tuned. And like I said, you've got some great news. We're trying to do the best we can. And you've got 3 wonderful guests coming on, and they play a very important part of our football club. And again, thank you, guys. Enjoy, stay strong, stay safe, and I love you all. Thank you.
Good on you, Mark.
All the best, pal.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Mark Sultana, the president of George Cross Football Club. Wasn't that great news to hear?
He's a breath of fresh air. We have him on. He's always positive. You know, he bleeds red for that, literally for that football club, and he says every time that he's not a football person, but he believes in the club, and he wants the club to be the best they can possibly be for the people that surround him. And you know, we will, before we go on to a guest again, just to reiterate what he said, we wish Ed Gauci and the family all the very best over the coming months, and stay strong, mate. You're a good bloke, and you can get through it.
Absolutely. On that note, let's bring our next guest, our first of our junior coaches, and well, in this particular case, our next guest is the technical director of the Miniroos section of the club, someone who has really worked hard and continues to work hard, and it's an absolute pleasure to bring onto the show Adam Wakefield. Adam, joining us tonight. How are you, my friend, and how's things with you?
Very well, Tonci. Very well, Craig. How are you?
Just a quick question. Did you get a haircut just recently? You're looking very... apologies to everyone. That was a little bit of a private joke off air earlier tonight. Looking very sharp, Adam.
Mate, I'll try. Look, I haven't had a haircut in about 6 weeks, and if you listen to the roadmap that was released yesterday, I got about another 6 or 8 before I can get another one. So, to answer your question, no, I haven't, not yet. Doing the best with what I can.
You're doing far better than I am, mate, let me tell you.
If I had hair like you, Craig, I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
Adam, tell us about the Miniroos side of things at George Cross. It's a club that has expanded quite dramatically over, say, the last 12 months, and particularly that section with both boys and girls. Let's go right back to pre-season of last year. What were some of what were some of the plans that were put in place, and what was 2020 going to see for the Miniroos down at George Cross?
Oh, look, 2020 was going to be a year that we could really transform our program and really start a true, genuine development program for juniors, and that started with the introduction of expanding into females football. So, coming through, I think we managed to pull in about 4 girls teams now, aging from 11-year-olds right through to 16 through to seniors. So that was a huge focus on bringing women's football to George Cross. Look, through trials, bringing on George Gero, the TD, was a huge step. So bringing on somebody with a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience in football, bringing him in to help really write a development program to assist us in genuinely developing players. I mean, I find a lot of clubs in Victoria go through the motions and have the junior teams there, but we want to be a standout from the crowd. This was our year that we don't want people coming to George Cross just because we are George Cross and that we've got great facilities. We want them to come there because we've got a great development program and we're giving them every opportunity to progress through that development phase, skill acquisition into game training, performance training into senior football. So look, we had massive plans this year, and unfortunately COVID sort of squashed that along with many other plans.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, my question really is, now you've got yourself as the technical director of the Miniroos, you've got George Gero obviously overriding everything and looking at that. That to me sends out a message, a real positive message, that the club behind the scenes is very structured, is very focused, and it's got a real purpose about the way it goes about it. Obviously, from the front end, as far as the coaches and the kids themselves, do you try and make it as enjoyable and try and make it as almost spontaneous for the kids, but in the back end continue to have that real purpose, that real structure about the way you do things?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's all about fun for me, and one of the biggest focuses is that we want everybody enjoying coming to football training. We want them enjoying coming to the club and being a part of that atmosphere. But as you said, in the back end of the club, we're putting these things in place through having George Gero come on board and having 2 technical directors of the club. We've got a full junior working committee, plus the board. We've got a coaching staff of 3 or 4 people within the coaching staff itself for seniors. So the way that the club is structured is all about that progress through junior football right through from Miniroos into juniors into senior football. So it's about creating those genuine opportunities. But look, the main focus is definitely to have fun as a junior, and I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that so far.
Yeah, and that Miniroos section, Adam, as anybody who's been involved in football knows, is a massive part of any football club, because they're your future, they're your generation, they're the generations that's going to be around for the next 10, 15 years and potentially playing in that senior squad in years to come. So it's really important that, any football club gets that junior section right. Yes, it's about having fun. Yes, it's about coming and enjoying it, but also, getting to understand that there is a protocol of what needs to be done in terms of the skill acquisition side of things, the fun games, but getting kids on a football field with a football instead of an AFL ball or a cricket ball or a basketball, that's the important bit, because they are your foundations of any football club.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I like to think that's something that George Cross have done well. I mean, we've always had a strong junior program or a strong junior focus. And I mean, for the first time, we've now got our juniors right through to seniors in the one facility. At one time when I first joined the club, I was running between 2 different venues between juniors and Miniroos. And the fact that we're just all combined now, I think it feels a lot more homely for the junior programs, for the parents. Especially for the kids in the Miniroos. I mean, there's nothing that I enjoy more than being out on the pitch and seeing these young ones, play football as young as 5, through to, as you said, the under 11s, and just generally having a good time, but learning, the correct techniques of football along the way.
Let's talk numbers, mate. How many kids are in the Miniroos program at George Cross, and even maybe a breakdown of the 7s, 9s, and 11s, and also how you structure the squads? Do you have them just spread over everywhere, or do you have like an A team, B team, C team, etc.? Kids that come to the club at first, where are they put in? Like just basically how you structure the Miniroos side of things.
Yeah, so look, the Miniroos have been structured, I guess, much like how many other clubs have done it. That we do have essentially we do have our stronger teams, and then we have our teams that need a little bit more development, a little bit more one-on-one coaching. But we've also tried to, in recent times, steer away from that, where we don't want to treat it as, this is the A team, this is the B team. We want to treat it as an entire group. So across each age division, we've got to be 3 teams per age division. So between the 11s, 10s, 9s, 8s, and 7s, we've got 3 teams in each group. Hopefully, if we can get some more teams out there next year, that's definitely a focus of mine, to keep increasing that junior population. But each team has between, starting with the under 7s, we have 8 players per side, right through the under 11s, where we've got 12 players per team. So we try to cap the numbers as such that we're getting good game time per player. We don't want to overload those teams where players are getting minimal game time on the pitch. So that was a strong focus. But again, one of the bigger focuses that George and myself spoke about was having those groups work together, combine together. So training nights are the same, training times are the same, so we can rotate players between different teams, so they can get that different voice or a different coaching perspective, and vice versa, so they can play their inter-club matches throughout the weeks and really just combine as a club, so we don't have that division between the A team and the B team. We want it, as I said, as a group, and we're all as one.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Simon Cavalieri's just put on there, regardless of the results. So it's really important that, they do get an opportunity to have a different voice. They play with a different squad of players. They play with different levels of ability, because, at that age, it's, as we said just now, it's not about the result. It's not about, we have to win at all costs. It's about the players enjoying themselves as much as they possibly can until they get to that 11, 12 years old. Then it becomes a little bit different. Then it becomes more skill acquisition, getting them ready for real football, as we call it. But there seems to be a lot of positive stuff that's coming from the club on that Miniroos side, Adam. So you're obviously doing a good job there, bud.
Yeah, look, thank you, and we are trying. As I said, and to agree with Simon, it's definitely not about results. It's about breaking that stigma, I guess, that is football in Australia, that you've got to have your strongest with your strongest, and you've got to have your Wallabies and your Joeys or whatever it may be. And as a club, we want to really try and shy away from that. And yes, we do group the players with their ability levels, but again, it's not about this is my team or this is that coach's team, and that's where they're going to stay. I mean, we want to be able to rotate coaching staff between teams and even players between teams as freely as possible. So, this is something.
Oh, sorry, keep talking.
So this is something that we discussed when we did our parent interaction nights at the start of the year, where we did advise the parents that, just because a player has started somewhere now, it doesn't necessarily mean that's where they're going to stay. It's all about putting that particular player, where they need to be for their development purposes, but also giving them the opportunity to play with different players and maybe more experienced players or less experienced players. It's all about that interaction and coming together as one.
It seems to me, between yourself and George, having those people that not override, but oversee everything, and being objective. It's not like you've got kids that are there, so you're going to go there with a vested interest or anything like that. Your role is to look at everyone equally and to give opportunities here and there. And does that help, having those type of overseeing leaders, if you like, or coordinators, as opposed to just mum and dad who are coaching their little boy or little girl, being involved in not only coaching but also having to be in that coordinative role, if you like?
Yeah, look, absolutely. There's one thing that I want to try and do as much as I can is we want to try and remove the parent factor from coaching. So we want to try and the more and more skilled coaches that we can bring on board, it's the better for us and the better development for the teams themselves, and for the players. I've always found that even myself, when I was coaching my son, that it is hard to sort of remove yourself as being a parent, and it is really hard as sort of being a parent and coaching your own child. So that's one step that we want to try and remove as much as possible. And the more that we upskill our coaches, the better they can develop the players. And having people like myself and like George that can sort of go around and obviously have those discussions with all the coaches about where a player's ability level is and what do we think is best for that particular player. It's definitely going to help us achieve our end goal in having a true development program for Miniroos.
Yeah, what age from your point of view is it? And Simon Camilleri again, who keeps popping up questions that I'm about to ask. So, at what point do you then start sitting down with parents and assessing the players? Do you have a plan to sort of say, right, every 6 weeks we'll have a player parent meeting with the coaches and we talk about where their development is, how they're going, because taking that parent out of the equation is always very difficult, especially at that Miniroos, because all of them want to be the next Messi. All of them think they should be playing every game. All of them should be playing striker. So how do you sort of assess the players and how do you get that information over to parents?
So, look, very good question, Craig. And it is something that we did plan on introducing this year, is similar to parent-teacher interviews with school and do like a mid-year and an end-of-year, coach, TD, parent interview type thing where we can talk to them about the progress of their child and where that player's ability level is. And throughout the year, if there's a special case-by-case basis where one player, for example, is really doing well or vice versa, one that's really struggling, I mean, we're in constant communication with all the parents. I mean, we're always at the ground, always walking around. So even to just have one-on-one conversations with the parents and say, right, listen, this is where we feel your player or your child is at the moment, and what we feel is best for their development phase is maybe give them a couple of weeks in a different team, or move them down a division, or on the other end move them up a division, or in some cases move a complete team like we have in the past from one league to the next because they just weren't developing where they were. So it is hard, and you're right, Craig. You've been around a long time, and it is hard. Every parent thinks that their child is Messi or the next Ronaldo or their superstars, and that really is the hardest part of being in these roles is trying to explain to the parents what we think is best for the child's development, and that they need to trust that the people that the clubs have employed have got the knowledge and are doing the right things. That for us, we don't have an invested interest in our child. Our invested interest is the best for what that child's ability is at that particular time.
Yeah. Fantastic. Like, we're talking to Adam Wakefield, the technical director of the Miniroos. Now, this is a fascinating insight into a well-organised, well-structured setup there. And one of the teams that's part of the Miniroos setup are the under-11 girls. So, Adam, if you don't mind, hang about. We're going to bring now the coach, and she's the second-year coach of the under-11 girls, KESI RAO. So she's going to be joining us now. It's an absolute pleasure to have KESI on the show. KESI, welcome to the Football Out West show. How are you?
Good, thank you, Tonci and Craig. How are you?
Very well, KESI.
Now, apart from the fact that, you're a second-year coach there as well, you've really got an exciting group of young girls there. Tell us how 2020 was shaping up to be. So let's talk about the pre-season that was leading up to the to this year. And unfortunately, obviously, with all the problems that we're having, COVID and what you're not, how in these lockdown periods have you managed to get the girls to maintain their enthusiasm and connection to each other?
Yep. Well, with pre-season, we tried to get a lot of tournaments in. So we did a lot of tournaments that were available. We also played a lot of friendly matches for those clubs to play friendly matches with us, as well as a lot of in-house matches as well. Once COVID hit, obviously things changed. The girls had the hunger to keep going and playing more matches, and then COVID hit, so it just brought them down a bit. They did lose a bit of motivation. So when the first COVID happened, the lockdown, it took about 2 weeks, and then I'm like, I need to change this. I don't think it's good for the girls, their mentality-wise as well, and they're quite vulnerable. The girls are at an age where they're between 8 and 11, so a very, very vulnerable age. And, I spoke to George, our TD. He's been very supportive, Adam as well, himself as well. And they said, try Zoom, so I did. And since then, it's been great. Like, Zoom is an amazing way to speak to the girls, communicate. So we've been basically doing all training. Our usual training days are Monday and Thursday. So I've been using those days as an opportunity to do Zoom ball mastery. So Mondays, we do all ball mastery, and then Thursdays, the girls do all their injury prevention programs and fitness and endurance. I've been working on that. But also, I've been mixing it up. So, 1 week we do some fitness challenges, and the week after we do some bake-off challenges. The girls have been making some cakes and cupcakes, pancakes, and they've been loving that. As well as, we've been doing some Zumba dances and some TikTok moves, finding some likes between them.
Yep.
So I've started understanding them more, things that they're great at as well, other talents apart from soccer, incorporating all of that and trying to get that motivation back. And it's been fun.
Do you know what's really interesting in what you just said? Do you know what's really interesting in what you just said then, KESI, is the fact that, you're beginning to understand your players better. Because when they turn up to football, it's all about football. It's all about the training session. It's all about, then the match that comes on the weekend. Now what's happening is you're starting to understand what are your players into? What do they do outside of football? And I know from my daughter who plays, and I mentioned it last night on the quiz, that they have a Zoom meeting. She's playing in the senior side, and she's actually 18 next week, and she's playing in the senior lady side. And the girls have really looked after her because she's the youngest in that squad. But what they do every week is they have a quiz, or they'll do something, or they'll TikTok, which they were doing the other week, and they were doing stuff on that, and they all had to post it. And I think that's a really important way of engaging with players, not only male players, and male players is a different subject, but for girls, because it's a way of you understanding them in a different environment away from your actual football club. And have you found anything within the girls that you found particularly eye-opening, I suppose?
Yeah, well, the girls are very creative. So we found that we've got a few girls that play piano, do karate, swimming. So we're actually, funny enough, we're actually creating a football dance with the Georgie's theme song. So we're going to incorporate all the ball mastery, all the other talents apart from soccer, and create it into a dance. So that's something we're working on now. We've just finished the ball mastery this week.
Do you reckon we can get the mini TD to start the dance off, do you think?
We'll get Adam and George to join in, and Mark and Lisa as well. So it'll be a family
dancing definitely isn't one of my talents.
That the girls will work on and want to perform once we get back into Georgie's. So it's something, they're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and KESI, how do you structure these Zoom meetings? Do they actually do on screen? Do they get the ball out and start juggling on the screen, or do they pre-record it and send it in? Or tell us how does a normal Zoom training session go? This is fantastic stuff.
Oh, well, Zoom is just fantastic, I must say, and a great app that they've created. So it runs with, we it's a video visual, so it's all live. The girls, we're on there. I create the sessions, and it's all live. The girls do it. They follow the instructions, and they're all on screen there, so I can see that they're doing it properly. They ask questions if they're stuck there. But then at the end of it, they all, while they're practicing for that week as a project as well, they send through videos of them practicing the ball mastery. But no, everything's on live on Zoom. So it's all in hand. It's just like training, but unfortunately not on the field at home, but with me still coaching them.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. How good is that? That is absolutely fantastic. KESI, you got
sorry, before we go. So obviously, from a girl's point of view, how important, sort of, have you approached the subject with the girls? How important is it that the Women's World Cup is coming to Australia and New Zealand in just a couple of years' time? And are the girls excited about that? And can they see themselves? Do they want to be the next Socceroos and or Matildas in future years?
Oh yes, definitely. Sam Kerr's one of our Australians now into Chelsea. The girls really look up to her, and they're not taking Matildas lightly, so they're really quite serious, and they believe that they're the next Matildas, and they want to get there. So, and they're proving it. Their dedication, their motivation is absolutely amazing. A good bunch of girls, but the parents as well. They've been so supportive and a great team. And parents and players is what makes the team, as well as Georgie's the family. Everybody in the club, the coaches, the TDs, to the volunteers, everyone in the bistro, and all, we're all a big family. And under 11 girls, we're a family there. So the girls, hopefully they are the next Matildas. They think it and they want to be. So let's give them a few years, and we'll get back to you on that.
Do you want to give a shout out to the girls? Say cheerio to all the girls and say
under 11 girls. I know you'll be watching. I'm here, and I'm very proud of all of you. Amazing bunch of girls and parents as well in my team. Thank you for all your support through this hard time of isolation, obviously, and I can't wait till we get back. As all of our Georges, we're all looking forward to getting back into the club and getting out there and playing. But I just want to say thank you for everything. Thank you for all your support, and keep up the hard work, girls. And I can't wait to see you.
Absolutely fantastic. Well done, KESI. You're getting a lot of positive vibes, a lot of support, a lot of warm and fuzzies from people around the club in the comments section. Probably too much to read because there's about 10 or 12 comments, but you're doing an absolute fantastic job. Keep it up. We look forward to maybe later this year or early next year touching base again with you. And I'm sure you probably have given a lot of coaches listening in, tuning in, some ideas of their own, and certainly me as well, thinking, what a great idea. What a brilliant idea. Thanks for joining us, KESI. Adam as well, thank you very much, and keep the good work happening. It's brilliant to see what you guys are doing down at George Cross.
Thanks,
keep up the good work, guys. Great club, and well done for everything you're doing there. So hopefully catch up with you soon and have a beer.
Georgie's on Vista.
Good on you guys.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
Adam Wakefield and KESI from KESI RAO from George Cross. How good was that?
Very good, interesting insight into the roles of two very different jobs there, but effectively one combined job, which is development of junior football players. So fantastic.
You know what I really liked about what Adam had to say was that there was that two-pronged approach, that front end and back end, And most clubs you kind of see is just sort of a mishmash. They try and make ends meet. They get anyone that they can possibly get a dad to coach or a mum to coach because they struggle to get coaches. But
you know what? The most important thing, though, Tonci, okay? The important thing, and I've seen it so many times across football clubs, and lots of football clubs will listen to me and think, yeah, that's my football club. What George Cross have is a structure. They have a structure in place right from the start, right through to the finish. Yep. Where a TD has come in, not trying to change the world, but is there to help and guide those people, those coaches, those players into becoming something they want to be. And a lot of clubs don't have that. So, big shout out for George's for having that structure, because it will make the club stronger.
And I think, you know, we listen to Mark Sultana often where he says that they try and make a point of difference. And I think right there, folks, that's the big point of difference, that a club like George Cross, and look, a lot of people say, but they've got the money, they've got the, but it's not just that. You got to have the right people in place. And I think with George and Adam, they're in a very, very good position to have it. Look, you know, what George Cross is now becoming a club where players from all around the region are going there because they know they're going to get not just good facilities, but great resources and great coaches. And I guess our next guest is someone who he's a Geelong boy. We know him very, very well from down Geelong way, who's got extensive coaching experience, both at junior and at senior level, that stretches back, I think, 20 years, if not more. And he's one of George Cross's finest coaches now, and he's the coach of the under-16 NPL boys team. And it'll be an interesting person to chat to. And there he is, MICK SVALJEK is our next guest. Mick, absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us. And just before the introduction, we were talking about how, you know, George Cross has got a phenomenal structure happening. You've now bought into that structure and you're now the under-16 boys NPL coach. Tell us about how it's happening at NPL level.
Thanks, Tonci. Hi, Craig, and good evening to all watching. Yeah, look, I think the guests before me basically covered it all. It's a very, very professionally run structured club, starting from the top with Mark Sultana. You have George there, Adam Wakefield, Lisa Juric, another one as well. So the difficulty at the start of pre-season was obviously with the trials having a lot of new, I think we had about 70 plus just in the under-16s boys coming in to try and sort out who's who. But once we got up and running, if you like, things have really, really started to go in the right direction. A lot of support all the way through from the 13s up to the 16s. So it's a great place to be. We talked about structure and definitely heading in the right direction, and not just for Georgie's, obviously for all the clubs in Victoria particularly. It's a bit of a kick in the guts, if I put it that way, the current situation we're in, because we're really, really on a high there. Things were definitely going in the right path, Tonci. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We just, I think, lost Craig for a minute, but he's back now. Craig.
No, this massive spider just came out of the grill above my head. So I had to give it a good smack, mate. So,
and you call yourself a Welshman? You are the biggest wuss. Seriously? Oh, I don't know.
They told me he was a pretty tough footballer in his day, Craig.
He walks into a fence today. He's scared of a spider. My Lord, what has the lockdown done to your fire?
That's for sure.
Yeah. Mick, often you get some very, very good compliments from players. You get some very, very good compliments from parents. But you've got a fantastic compliment from someone who you've just complimented. Lisa Juric says, Mick, what a guy. He has fitted in like he's been at Georgie's for years. Now, Mick, I know you from many, many years back at North Geelong Soccer Club. You've been involved with St Albans Saints as well. Mate, you are one of those people who believe very, very strongly in the culture at a club being very, very strong. And I know at Bell Park Soccer Club, where you were the senior coach, you also tried to instill that and did quite well there. Mate, tell us about the culture at George Cross as someone who's come in from the outside, if you like.
Firstly, I want to thank Lisa for that. Look, and it is about the culture and why I fit in there so well. It's exactly what the club is saying. That's what they're selling, the culture of being honest, open, transparent. I mean, Georgie speaks for himself from memory, 47. So a 73-year-old club, probably one of the oldest in Victoria, possibly in Australia, football club. And the people there are genuine. After about the first 2 or 3 weeks, I thought, goodness, I feel like I've been here all my life, and I can't say that for all the clubs that I've been involved with. You always take something good from the clubs and you try and put something positive. But the strong leadership, again, we talk about leadership from the top with Mark. He's a guy that's there all the time, that's really bought into the place. I mean, he even showed up in Bendigo when we played against Bendigo, and I thought, wow, this is great. The parents see that, the players see that. It's a genuine place. It's a really, really good feeling there right now, and particularly with the people in the background. I will mention Lisa again, Adam, and obviously George, and there's others there as well that have put their heart and soul into the place, and it speaks for itself. And I'm not just talking about the facilities, I'm talking about the way it's structured, the way it's organised. I think Craig just mentioned about, we do have meetings with the parents ongoing. We always give them the positive feedback, what we think as coaches we could do better, what the club could do better, and particularly what could help their youngsters, if you like, to improve where they need to work as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mick, look, I've got a couple of questions for you. One is, obviously you coached at senior level, obviously now you're coaching at junior level. What's been the one big difference that you can see between sort of coaching a group of young men to coaching 16-year-old boys? And as you know, we're coaching the same age group, and we played each other this year, and we know each other very well. What's the one big difference that you see from doing both sets of coaching?
Very good question, Craig.
Very good question. I don't give you much what's the word? Compliments, but he deserves one on that one. Sorry, Mick, over to you.
Most will agree, and some will disagree. But I think coaching youth is a lot more open and transparent to learning, to embracing what you're trying to do, the club mentality, where they're going. Where in senior footballs, you'll get some footballers, unfortunately, that think that they know everything when they've still got a lot to learn. So there's just those attitudes. I believe that some senior footballers are more closed and not as receptive into buying into things, and what, as coaches, especially experienced coaches, are trying to achieve, Craig. That was the hardest challenge that I found. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to be in a hurry to get back into a senior role.
Yeah, it is a tough gig, for sure. Both of them, they both have their different ways of how you look after them. I suppose from my side, coaching back at youth level I haven't done it for a number of years, is the fact that they're still sponges to a degree. Some think they should be playing MPL 20s at 15. Some actually think, do you know what, I'm here to learn, and if I can learn from this coach and I can improve, then I'm going to be better down the line. That's the one thing that I found this season down at North of being is paramount to me, is you can build. For me, when I joined the club, and I know you're of the same mindset, is build a player first before you worry about the team. If you've got a good player that wants to learn, wants to improve, then I take him every day over a player who's got talent but shit attitude, because that disrupts a lot of stuff. So it's really important from my side of the type of people that you bring to the club, and the type of person that actually you're going to be coaching. So it's a really good insight, mate. So how have you enjoyed your first 7 games of it's hard to say, isn't it, that we only played 7 games of the season? But how did you find the whole process of the NPL new structure that they had for this season?
Look, it's got its pros and cons, I suppose, Craig, with that. I mean, the good thing about that is at the end of it, obviously we didn't get to the end of it, you would have had teams that are playing against teams with similar ability. I just thought the whole process was a little bit rushed to sort of start with as well. I thought it should have been a little bit more open, in the sense that perhaps we could have went into certain divisions, i.e. the West Division, automatically go into the West Division, just to see maybe have your 22 games for the year to see how you end up. Like a bit of a trial, West, East, North and South, and then try and collide them next year. That's the downside of it. Look, we were sitting mid-table when obviously the COVID situation put a stop to it. I was quite happy with where we were heading and what sort of football strategies and where Georgies were going with a certain football style, if you like. But look, it's tough. It's been tough, Craig, and I'm sure, obviously, as you say, we know each other and we coach against each other, and it's certainly had its challenges. But I will say this, particularly with my 16s, and I saw it from the 13s all the way up, NPL I'm talking about. What was really impressive and pleasing for me was the way the boys gelled. On my side, I think there was only 2 footballers that had played previously together. The other boys were all new to the club, but the way they embraced the culture and each other was very, very pleasing to see. So that was a highlight for me.
Yeah, and that comes down to the coach as well, Mick. So sometimes coaches don't take praise for stuff that they do, but that whole, you just said there, only 2 players out of your squad of 16, perhaps. Don't know how many 16, 18 players that play together. to get a culture very, very quickly is a tough gig to do. So that comes down to the person who's guiding that team. So, take a bit of credit for yourself as well, mate, of, being able to do that and do that very, very quickly over, 7-8 games. And I'm sure if the season had gone, and mate, you'd have had a very successful season up at Georgia. So take a bit of credit yourself, mate.
Okay, thanks, mate.
A question for both you gentlemen. Has there been any talk about what's going to happen next year with regards to the NPL under-16 division? Because obviously it's been, whitewashed this year. Will that move to an under-17 division just for next year? Or obviously North Geelong are lucky they've got the NPL under-18 division. But in George Cross's case, you don't yet have a senior component. So what would happen there? So has there been any whisperings or murmurings, gents?
Not from my side. Not from my side. I think. Sorry, Mick. Go on. You answer that question.
I was going to suggest, Craig. I've heard from one source that possibly there will be a 17 to catch up, and I think that's probably paramount and very, very important because I really feel sorry for these boys. I was very pleased when the FFA announced and the FFE that the 18s will become part of senior football. This probably should have happened years and years ago. But these boys from the 16s are in transition now, so there's really no going back to some of them. If they don't play 18s NPL, what do? They go on next year? Some of the boys that I've got are on that edge or that borderline, if you like. So I'm hoping that there will be a 17s competition, just to give them that extra year, basically to better their football ability, if you like, and obviously mature the bodies a little bit as well.
Yeah, I'm in the same sort of vein as you there, Mick. I had a lot of players that, in fact, 9 of my 15-man squad were under the age of 15, so still eligible to play under 15. So asking those boys to step up to under 18s is a big ask. So to have that gap of 2 years brought down to maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 years, I think is a big. So for me, that would be a really good way of continuing that development of that transition between top end junior football and then getting into that sort of senior men up in that under 18. So for me, it would be a plus.
Yeah, you'd think that is going to happen. I know they are doing that with the Victorian Country Championships next year. So the under-16 category is next year going to actually become an under-17 category, both in the male and the women's, the good boys and girls divisions. Now, Mick, you're speaking about players that want to learn at all levels. You've been coaching now for 20, 30 years or thereabouts, whatever. But you're still very much a student of the game. And last year, the year before, you actually embarked on a bit of a tour to Europe to really get to know, I guess, more of the intricacies of coaching, particularly at academy level. And that's really, tell us a bit more about that, because it's a fascinating story. And what did you find out from your trip to Europe?
Thanks, Tonci. Yeah, that was certainly an eye-opener for me, and it was obviously at the Dinamo Zagreb Academy in Croatia, my country of birth. I was very, very fortunate to spend some quality time with some world-class coaches, just to see the basic structure of what they do, how they treat individuals, if you like, certain age groups. I learned a lot. I learned a hell of a lot. I soaked a lot in. I came back with a broader football knowledge, if you like, and it certainly inspired me to try to get to the highest possible level as a coach. So it was, like I said, I was very, very fortunate, and it's definitely a world-class facility, just the way they structure things, the way they do things, the way they look after their footballers. And I'm talking about footballers here from 9 to 23, and I was basically with the 17s of the 23 group. It's certainly fast-tracked my ability as a coach. And like I said, I was very fortunate, and I used some of those skills, mindsets, if you like, that I took away from that. And in between that also, I was very, very thankful and pleased to get an invite to coach along the coaches from the Real Madrid Academy from Football Federation Victoria last year as well. So I spent 5 days with another 3 world-class quality coaches. So look, I'm not a headstrong coach. I believe that you're never too old, no matter whether I've been in the game for 20 years or 30 years, you're never too old to learn, and you can always learn something. And when you go to a place like that where it's a world-class facility, and you really have a different respect of what's going on around and where we are as a country compared to other countries in sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're never too old, as you said, Mick. And I think the day that coaches think they've cracked it is the day that they need to give up football and go and take something else, because you only got to watch TV and sit there and observe any game on the TV, and you're constantly learning about the game, different aspects of the game. And it is, going to a European country and seeing how they operate and how they coach and how they manage people. And, I've just written down here, develop the person first. That's been my mentality. Develop the person first. I'll go back to it. If you've got a very good person who wants to learn, give him as much time as he needs, because he's far better than the player that's technically very good but got a terrible attitude, thinks he should be playing in the A-League at 15. They're not for me. They're not those players. But going back to your what you said about going and taking that information from European coaches is priceless. So well done on that as well.
Yep, exactly.
Giving you a lot of praise tonight, Mick.
Now, Mick, your son Jared, he's also a very, very talented coach, and he's involved at Melbourne Victory. You must be very proud of what he's achieved in such a short time as well in his coaching career.
I am, Tonci. Thank you. Very proud, actually. He's got his own story, young Jared. He was an elite athlete, and he had a serious health issue and injury, but he obviously got through that. He's gone and he's schooled himself, and this next year will be his second year at Melbourne Victory.
Fantastic.
He's been given the role of the assistant under 14s coach there as well, and he's definitely heading in the right path there. So, look, it was a passion that he started with me at North Geelong as a young boy. I think he was about 14 or 15, running around and picking up cones and things like that, and it just grew from there. So, look, it's great, and it's great to have somebody else in the family that's really passionate, particularly about youth football, and that loves the world game. So, yeah, it's good.
There you go. So not only are we in a position where we can develop very talented players and watch them springboard onto bigger and better steps, but would you both agree that this is the direction our sport needs to take, where we need to be able to develop better coaches, better administrators, and keep people in the industry, and that's how our football will grow?
Absolutely. Mark Sultana's wrote their B-League Academy. Can't wait. That's where we need to aspire to. Your clubs need to have the best players playing at those clubs under the best coaches, because that's how they're going to develop, and that's how they're going to improve, and that's how the game's going to get bigger and stronger. And eventually, the Socceroos can go back to where they were in 2010, because that's ultimately where the country needs to be aiming for. So we can't do that without the coaches. Coaches are football will take care of itself. However, to make football, to take football where it needs to be, we need quality coaches, and if we haven't got the quality coaches, the rest doesn't matter.
I think Craig's hit it, Tonci. I think it's a world motto everywhere. The best coaches produce the best footballers. So very, very important to have that structure, to have those same beliefs, and get the coaches up to a certain level. And hopefully, in the next 10 years, the Socceroos and Olyroos and the women's Matildas will be right up there where they belong. Because what I believe Australia is very, very fortunate on per capita. From what I understand, when it comes to sports, we're right up there, number one in all sports in the world. So hopefully more and more people will play the beautiful world game, and will become a football power that we should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic, mate. Wish you all the very, very best. Now, the COVID era has been a very the lockdowns has been a very painful time for a lot of people here, but for you especially, mate, on a personal note, it was a very, very painful time, but you've got through that. You had a bit of a medical issue, a kidney stone, and you reckon you now know what women go through when they're giving birth.
Look, Tonci, I think you know me quite well. I'm a big believer in equality, and I have nothing but total respect for women. But hats off to them to the ground, because when I reached the emergency ward of the hospital, I had 2 kidney stones. Actually, I nearly passed out. So,
oh my God,
it was about 4 or 5 weeks of the worst pain I've ever had. But I'm good now. I'm back and Yeah, I'm good. I'm buzzing again. So
it's great to see your smiling face, happy all over again. Yeah. So no, I'm glad all that went through very, very well.
Yeah,
Mate,
I've got a couple of questions just before we head off.
Yes, go for your life.
Question one, there's been a couple of people asking, will Mick be at the club in 2021?
At this stage, definitely 100%.
There you go.
There you go. You've heard it first.
Any other questions?
And I have got another one now. I know that you got pretty excited back when pre-season was going on, that you got to train on the main pitch. How good was that, mate?
Thanks to Mark. Again, thanks to Mark Sultana for that. I can't live that down. That's just. I thought he was joking when he said, "Hey, guess what, mate? You're on that main pitch there." That was like really. And I was lucky to actually last year in October I was in England on a bit of a holiday there for about 2 weeks, and I was lucky enough to walk on the Wembley pitch itself. And walking on there and training on there was like, yeah, this is fantastic. So, and it just goes to show you that they treat everybody the same, whether it's a NPL junior club or it's a seniors. The senior women train on there. Some of the community clubs train on. That was fantastic. Really gives you that extra. And I'm still buzzing about that now. That was a great experience.
Absolutely. And how were the kids themselves? Were they kind of a little bit awestruck as well, for their first experience there? Or the kids are not really very hard to please these days.
The intensity was at another level. I've never seen so much buzz around the place. It was great.
I remember we were just before we went off on tour to the UK with my coaching clinic. We got to play George's and we played them on the main pitch under lights just a week before we went off, and to see the boys. I think it was a couple of days after Western United. I think they played either North or Preston. The pitch was immaculate, and to just see the boys doing the warm up, and like you said, the intensity picked up. The passing was fantastic. So excellent.
Brilliant. Mick, absolute pleasure having you on the show. And as with all the previous coaches, we've had some fantastic comments in the comments section. So you're really well regarded and held in high regard there at George Cross. It's great to see. And it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show tonight. Wishing you all the very, very best, mate, in the post-COVID era.
So thanks for having me, guys. All the best, and hopefully I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, good luck, Mick. Cheers, pal.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Absolute pleasure. That was Mick SVALJEK, that was Mick SVALJEK, the coach of the NPL Boys Under-16 team. Craig, what a great episode tonight was. It was a George Cross-themed episode. We've had a lot of people just stay right to the very end. Phenomenal insight into a phenomenal club. But as you said, the structure, the sense of purpose with everything that is done from the seniors right down to the juniors is just incredible.
Yeah, do you know what I see out of the club, and I've seen the club sort of grow over the last year or so, and since they've moved into City Vista, is one of the big differences that this club has over a lot of clubs. Forget the facilities that they have, right? That's the second to none. What you see is in a lot of football clubs is coaches who are there for their own benefit. They're not there to help coach and develop kids. They're there for their own goals of what they look like as a coach. They want to win 10-0 every game because it makes them look good. All right. And a lot of clubs have that, certainly at the local community level. What Georges have is people who are there for a reason of development of young football players, and you can see that from the three people we've had on this evening. And that comes from the top. You know in Mark that he's very passionate about his football club. He's very passionate about the brand that this football club can offer and bring, and that comes down the line. They say everything starts at the top and dwindles down. A top approach, and that's what you see. I can't speak highly of them enough. From where they were perhaps 3 or 4 years ago, which, I'm probably saying something I shouldn't, but they were probably a laughing stock. The club was going nowhere. The ground was awful. Now they've moved into new ground. There's a new belief around the club, and the fact that now Mark is talking about, being invited onto that board for the new B League is a massive massive plus for what everybody's doing at the football club. So
absolutely, and all I can see is that this will rub off on other clubs around the area. And Preston is another example. Once they get their facilities up, they already have got that ambition. You know, it's a great club from yesteryear. You'll see clubs, down the highway at North Geelong, things are really starting to pick up there as far as the facilities improvements and the program, the way it's being done. So I can honestly see some fantastic things happening all around the region. And with having a B league in the pipeline, there's going to be a lot of clubs, their professionalism, their ambition, their vision is just going to go to a whole new level. So
football's about one thing, Tonci. We could talk about everything. Football's about one thing and one thing only: people. Good clubs can't exist without good people. And from the people that we've spoken tonight and the people that I know around the club, whether it's Mark, Lisa, George, Mick, KESI, Adam. There's another 25 or 30 of them at every football club. So, good clubs thrive off good people. And as long as you've got that, you've got something to work on. Absolutely
true. And on that note, we're going to leave you tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Been an absolute pleasure. Before we go, do show your support. Become a member of the Football Out West Show. We need you, folks. We need your support. We need your backing. To become a member, visit the following website: www.patreon.com/Football Out West Show. There are 3 categories there for every budget. And you can see what we're trying to do, what we've been trying to do this entire year when it's been very, very difficult. It's episode 40 today, so we've been going 40 episodes strong. And we'd love to be able to be around for another 40 and yet another 40 and yet another 40. So on that note, Craig, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We'll see you Thursday for the big showdown between Corio and Sunbury United. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be the last game of the opening round of the Hopheads Football IQ Quiz.
Until then, stay safe, everybody.
Good night.
George's on Vista is the local bistro at Fraser Rise in Caroline Springs, situated at the George Cross Soccer Club at City Vista Reserve. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, we've adjusted our menu and our business times. You can now get takeaway Friday and Saturday nights between 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. You can phone your order through on 7021.